attentive, follow up, ask questions, take notes, and make sure you get whatever you need from this workshop. Okay, that's great. Okay. Yes, more reactions. I need to know everyone is active. Okay, great. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Thank you. So to open today's workshop, we are honored to hear from the founder of NSK.AI, Ifeanyi Okala. Please, Ifeanyi, the stage is yours.
Hi, Sumaya. Good afternoon. So, I want to believe Ifine is in. If you can confirm, I just see you just came in. Okay, great.
Yeah, just came.
Okay. So just to add, we are live on YouTube. So if you have participants who would want to join but have difficulty joining, so they could check our YouTube page. Just go to NSK.AI on YouTube and you can see that we are live. So you can join our live session as well there. If I please go ahead.
Okay. Hi everyone. Good evening. Thank you to everyone who's tuned in. So like Samir already said, this is the Udara project slash NSK.AI event, and like Samir already mentioned, it's time for Africa. The AI conversation has been happening for a very long time, and Africa hasn't really been in the conversation. And one of the reasons that inspired us for this workshop, not just the panelists involved, but this discussion is how can Africa be more involved in this AI conversation? Because it's no longer just a thing of, it's a thing of safety, it's a thing of, sovereignty. This is an important concept. And so this is why we decided to have this workshop. And I hope this workshop is going to be very, very beneficial for you. The conversations that are going to be had, I hope you get a lot of insights onto like maybe where the next 5, 10 years, maybe startups you want to build, and just our general livelihoods. Because I know that there's a lot of, like, call it fear. Lots of people are really undecided. Is AI going to take my job? How am I going to survive in the job market? We've been hearing all these things. So I think I really hope this workshop is going to be very um, informative for all of us. So I guess, Ralph, would you mind introducing our first speaker? Ralph, are you on the call?
Oh yes, I'm on the call. Thank you.
Okay.
So that's Okala Ifine, the founder of NSK.AI. And next we'll be having our first speaker, Northern President Sai Prabhakar. So Sai is an experienced product builder and machine learning researcher with a track record of developing machine learning products across startups. He has worked in large projects with research-driven organizations. His publication cuts across areas like large language models, NLPs, speech, computer vision, robotics, and reinforcement. Um, learning at um, learning at top tier conferences. Is currently working in an AI research and engineering at Ontario, focusing on applied AI to accelerate prior authorization in healthcare. Previously, Sai was the first employee, a founding team member, and also the lead research at Bridge. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Sai Prabhakar. Sai, the stage is yours.
Just started sharing my slide as well. Um, cool. Hello everyone. I'm one of the directors of NSK.AI as well, and I have known Ifani and some of the founding team here for quite some time, and this is amazing that we are having this conference. Cool. Let me quickly dive into the topic of the talk. So here I want to, in this talk, I want to focus on AI applications to cybersecurity. And so before that, I think I got like a kind introduction already, so I'll skip the slide, and let's dive straight into the talk. So in cybersecurity space, I know it's a niche area. So I'll give a general overview of where like about cybersecurity. Like ignore this if you already are in this space, right? So let's look at where the cybersecurity teams in different companies spend most of the time in, right? They spend most of the time in the first bucket, which is alerts and triaging. This is where you get logs in your telemetry software saying, hey, someone just downloaded thousands of confidential files, or someone logged in 3 different countries within 5 minute period. So these are like different alerts that get triggered. That's and understanding these alerts and collecting them is where most of the time is spent in. And the next bucket is investigation and case building, right? You analyze uh, these different alerts you get, and then you build a case on top of it. Okay, this person stole this key from this person, and then he tried to log in with VPN with different countries. So you try to build a case from it. And the third bucket, uh, which is where which is what we associate cybersecurity usually with, is the deep analysis part. But usually only 10 to 20% of the time is spent it here. This is where you need a lot of expertise, analyze how did they actually achieve this, how did this actual breach happen, or like security vulnerability happen. And then you try to solve it, and then you fix the problem, right? And the rest 10 to 15 percentage of the time is spent in reporting, writing up reports, and then publishing them, and letting your engineering team know about the vulnerability, and fixing them. And on these different tasks that I told you about, if you try to map them on 3 different axes, right? The first axis is, let's say, high volume. And as you travel along this axis, you go from high volume to medium volume to low volume, right? And the triaging means like categorizing your alerts into different priority groups, right? So this is not a really high priority. We can take a look at them later. So that is triaging. So most of the high volume tasks that our cybersecurity team face is on triaging aspect. And in the mid volume, we do the actual investigation stuff. And in the low volume, we have like actual malware analysis, forensics, threat hunting, like you actively hunt for new threats that's not captured in your alerting system, right? And if you sorry and if you also try to map that with the level of expertise needed, most of the triaging is done by junior engineers, and the investigation is usually done by mid-level to senior engineers, and the malware analysis is usually reserved, or you need like a senior level expertise to do that. And uh, on all of these 3 axes, we have a problem, right? In high volume case, we don't have a lot of time, and I mean, or most of the like our junior engineers have to spend a lot of time on analyzing this. This is again like a pain point for them. And also, we in the cybersecurity space, people have a lot of expertise scarcity, and you also want to respond quickly and then scale it as well. Think of systems like Amazon, right? They see thousands of alerts every day, and you want to respond quickly, so you contain the damage as well as you want to scale it as well. And this is where I have tried to map the different AI applications in cybersecurity in 3 different levels. The first level is converting from noise to narrative, right? When I say noise, I mean like thousands of alerts that get triggered. Like that's the level about how do you convert that into useful insights. And the second level is scaling up your expertise. This is where we have like we try to augment our existing humans or engineers and make them do their task faster. right? And the third and final level is the AGI, right? Like you make your agents into completely autonomous agents. They can act, they can respond, they can contain the situation, they can ban different users, they can do whatever it needs to solve it, right? Let's look at where the landscape is on different on all these three levels. So the first level, the main pain point is there's thousands of noisy telemetry. Uh, and the agent's role is mostly centered around summarizing different incidents and then categorizing them, building timelines from these different logs that we have. And the people who benefit most from this level is junior to mid-level analyst and the compliance team. And the outcome that we hope for is faster understanding. You get like a quicker insight into what happened. You don't have to query your logs and then manually query your logs and then understand what happened. Uh, and then case summary generation, and then attack-based activity mapping. This is a taxonomy that exists in cybersecurity landscape. You automatically we can classify our attack or alert into one of these categories, and then of course report generation, right? And most of the AI product that are successfully used in this space belong to this level. We don't so most of these products like Microsoft Security Copilot or Google's Chronicle AI or CrowdStrike is another popular company. Most of the use case is not on the highest level where it's autonomy, the agents act on their own, right? It's on this level where it helps humans to make sense of things faster. So it's like basic summarization, right? Uh, so remember this when you guys are, I don't know, like if you're building products in your startup, the most boring thing is the most popular application right now. That's where people are getting the most benefit. And in the level two, we have scaling of expertise. This is where there are a lot of manual tool chain analysis that people do. Let's say when there's malware discovered, right? You want to analyze malwares in a sandbox. Most of these analysis, right, can be automated and it's not automated to an extent where the agent does everything on its own. It's still like human in the loop automation and also suggest hypothesis. This is in the case of like thousands of alerts that I mentioned. You summarize them, then you create a hypothesis of what potentially uh, created that leak or that alert, right? Maybe security, there's a someone's API key got leaked. You try to build a hypothesis on that and then provide it to your security engineers and then help them analyze things, right? And the senior analysts are the ones, and the research response team are the ones who benefit most from this level. And the key benefits are, of course, the expertise in this space are very valuable, and we want to augment them to do their task much faster, right? Automated malware analysis, uh, and then converting a threat report to a technical summary. We like once you finish your analysis, convert that into quick summary for people to discover it. Uh, this is where this is the main benefits of applying AI or agentic AI at this level. And again, Microsoft has a product in this space, automated malware analysis, reverse engineering agent. You want to reverse engineer your malware, and IBM, and there are other startups building tools in this area as well. And this is where I termed it. I call this agent like. This is where you feel like okay, you can chain multiple tools together, and then humans still look at the intermediate outputs and try to uh, and then we try to use their expertise in the most optimal way possible. And finally, we are at the third final level. This is where we give full autonomy in theory to the agents, right? But still, you would want to contain it. right? Within the certain allowed decisions the agent can take. And the main pain point here is human responses really is often slow, right? And let's say if you're that's a banking breach, you want to contain it quickly, right? Otherwise the attacks of the exposed surface keep growing as this malware spread, right? Think of all the leaks news we have seen, right? Even delay in response time in hours, right, can cascade, and there'll be thousands of affected systems uh, quickly, right? So, and the agent's role here is generate detection and then trigger containment. Let's say we want to lock down a system quickly because we don't want a malware to spread, right? And then perform remediation. And then, of course, escalate it to for humans to quickly uh, do their job, right? And the security leadership, IT operations, those are the people who benefit from this. And like I mentioned, the main key benefit is time to response, right? And then we can quickly look at some of the AGI tools. Microsoft again has a tool in this space. Uh, and then these tools are still like in development, right? These tools are still not deployed with full autonomy. We contain them saying, hey, these are the allowed remediation steps you can take, right? And of course, the bottom, the two second point and the third point are still like academic benchmark data sets, right? There are very few tools in this space that are deployed at scale. So we still have like maybe in couple of years in agentic system we'll see like a fully autonomous cybersecurity agent everywhere or in most places, but not yet. Uh, okay, we are close to time. I want to quickly point out some of the nuances when you think of applying cybersecurity, when you think of applying AI to cybersecurity. One, LLMs are known for being confident for the wrong reason, right? They can overfit and then they can say, I'm pretty sure this is the answer, but usually it's wrong. So you want to take care of that. As well as cybersecurity is a it's a quick moving space, right? Your attackers can modify their uh, attack quickly, right? So you want your agent to also adapt to it. Humans are really good at adapting. We don't know if agents are really good at that as well. There's more research being done on that area. And the data this operates on, this logs, especially SOC logs, contain sensitive data like API keys because you want to build hypothesis, right? So it's a very highly sensitive area. And if your prompts that you use in your cybersecurity or if your analysis patterns get leaked, your attackers can use that and modify their attack malware to also not respond to certain agentic behavior. So that makes it like a moving target. Uh, yeah, these are the main things you want to be careful of when you are deploying agents in this space. And yeah, closing, most of the AI used in cyber security space in this nowadays is on sense making. And the riskiest part is where you give full autonomy to agent. It's still really low usage right now, but uh, there's a lot of hope there for fast response and other things, other benefits, potential benefits I told you about. Uh, yeah, so that's what I want to say about cyber, like use case in cybersecurity space. Let me take a look at the question. Feel free to follow me on LinkedIn, by the way. Yeah, any questions right now? Yeah, that's a question about autonomous use case in the space. Yeah, the main product in the space is from Microsoft, and there are some startups building completely autonomous agents, but these are not used at scale right now. Any other questions? Let me scroll the question section. Cool. I think that's it for the questions. I guess if any.
I'm sorry, there's a question. There's a question.
Oh,
if you can check. Okay, to what extent can AI be used in OWASP? I don't know what it is.
Yeah. I did see a couple of companies in this space. But I mean, you can there are a couple of things, right? Like one, like you when I think of WASP, I think of WASP as like a way to publish your vulnerability discovery, right? WASP top 10. In that space, again, your AI can quickly generate like a malware analysis and then quickly publish that, or new vulnerabilities that you start seeing that your attackers are exploiting. You can quickly publish that within your team as well as to the public out there as well. Currently learning cybersecurity. Yeah, cybersecurity is a really large high breadth space. You need to know software engineering, front end, back end, database, encryption, everything for that. Like you need to know at least a little bit of each of them. And there are a lot of there are a lot of like free practice online tools that you can try. Yes, cybersecurity is one of the high demand areas of AI right now, mainly because people want to speed it up as well as the lack of expertise here.
Yeah, there's one. Would you support fully automated agents?
There are, like I mentioned here, Microsoft Defender is one of the few fully automatable agent here, but there are a lot of companies building fully autonomous agents here in this space. The level of success is still varying. When I say success, I mean their use in different industries are still not as prevalent. But yeah, it's coming up.
Yes, I think so. I think we're good.
Awesome. Yeah, we are good. I was just gonna answer like the last question. What is the accuracy on AI use case?
You can take one more.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, the accuracy, we only have benchmarks, but there's no accuracy standards published yet, and it's still up research, still a big research topic. Yes, if I take it for.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you. Yeah, thank you, Sai. Fantastic. Thank you so much. Yes, Samira, do you mind?
Okay, Ifani, thank you so much. And Sai as well. This was very much informational and engaging sessions. Appreciate all the points raised and also our participants for asking questions. So now, as the AI system become more autonomous, capable, and globally deployed, the conversation must extend beyond engineering into governance sovereignty, power, and inclusion. We are honored to welcome Dr. Chinaza Okolo, founder and scientific director of Techniculture and AI policy specialist at United Nations. She's going to give us a talk on governing AI for the global majority, data, power, and sovereign intelligence. Dr. Chinaza, we are very happy to have you here. Please welcome. The stage is yours.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for the invitation and also for the warm welcome. Looking forward to presenting. I'm going to set up my presentation for right now. Alrighty. Alrighty. Great. So this presentation will go into a bit of my work that I do at the UN, also my personal capacity, and just thinking about basically AI governance, which is where my work is really centered on, particularly for the global majority. And so more broadly, we see that there has been a lot of efforts and developments towards, increasing AI scale across the African continent, even throughout, again, the global majority. We see that efforts to regulate the systems have also increased as well. However, this concentration is still really centralized in Western countries, despite the impacts of AI transcending borders. We also know that Western countries and corporations that are at the frontier of AI development are largely reliant on, global majority countries for natural resources like tantalum, cobalt, and tungsten, which form the GPUs that power these large AI models, also known in some cases as frontier or foundation models. And also human resources like data annotation and content moderation that are used to train and refine these AI systems. Given that the global majority and also different countries within the region are really seen as the next frontier for AI development and expansion, digital resources like data, which advance the capabilities of AI, will likely become the next commodity that's exploited by foreign entities, fueling this new era of techno neocolonialism. These concerns, along with issues of bias, disinformation, climate impacts, and economic inequality, really elevate the need for comprehensive and harmonized AI and data regulation efforts. So I'll start off with global AI divide. This is some work that I've done a lot of work in and where my work is centered. Also had the opportunity to publish a chapter on this in the inaugural International AI Safety Report that was led by Yashua Bengio. So this report is freely available online and really talks about some of the pressing issues that we see in terms of this this concentration of AI development. And so this work is from the Stanford Global AI Vibrancy Tool, and it aggregates 42 indicators to reveal which countries lead in AI. It also shows that the global majority countries are really less likely to be seen as leaders within AI research and development, R&D. However, we do see a lot of progress, obviously, from China. For the sake of my presentation, also for like my research in general, I tend not to group China in the global majority, but we do see India as a really big standout when it comes to research output, AI-related economic activity, and also, focusing on this infrastructure that's needed to support capacity and development for AI. So aside from China, we see that global majority countries also rank low in their respective concentration and production of AI talent. And these numbers rapidly diminish when we consider the concentration of top-tier researchers, particularly those who publish at prominent AI conferences like NeurIPS, ICML, ICLR, KDD, etc. Again, these researchers are primarily situated within the United States and China. However, we do see, again, a lot of growth and interest, from India. And so infrastructure is something that's becoming a very, pressing topic nowadays, particularly because countries have become interested in this idea of sovereign AI, and also alongside their interest in expanding AI development within the respective countries, particularly in ways that meet the needs of their local populations. And so, however, we know that infrastructure challenges, particularly and also disproportionately impact global majority countries, specifically Africa, which you'll see that is a very big standout when it comes to a lot of these maps, basically considering internet penetration, and also even just access to digital tools and resources. And so this graph or map on the screen is from the Oxford Internet Institute, and it shows that AI compute is also unequally distributed globally. Their work classifies countries into three categories. And so we see that the compute north, where predominantly rich countries host these data centers with the latest GPUs for training frontier AI models. We also see the compute south, where predominantly middle-income countries, they tend to host these older GPUs that are actually a little bit better for deploying, but not necessarily training these frontier AI models or even these large models more broadly. And then finally, we see these compute deserts, which basically constitutes countries that have no cloud AI compute at all. Again, we see these disparities across the global south or global majority, with notable compute shortages in Africa, Latin America, the Caribbean, and also Oceania. Again, particularly as it relates to AI-specific compute power. And then also, when we consider the entire global majority, we see that very few notable machine learning models come from countries within this region. And this is a graph that has been developed by the Stanford AI Index, also with data that's leveraged from Epoch AI, which is a resource that's used to track the frontier or the trajectory of AI. And so in 2024, for the first time, actually, the Stanford AI Index indicated that a notable machine learning model came from Africa, and it was Egypt in particular. I'm not sure which model it was, but it was really great to see that the continent has become on the map. However, again, that we do see this concentration of notable machine learning models, very just much situated within the United States and also within China. And this map is also super interesting because now it goes into, data, which is also another form of infrastructure and is, honestly, what powers this large scale and wide scale AI development. And so since 2024, this work that the Data Provenance Initiative has done, they're primarily situated out of MIT or led by MIT researchers, but it's a global collective of researchers, and they've conducted a wide-scale audit of data sets that have been used to train AI systems. And their work shows that extreme disparities in global representation and data sets exist. And so their work finds that about 0.2% of data that are used to train AI models comes from Africa or South America. We know that these issues of underrepresentation really impact the development of AI systems, leading to bias and unequal performance of these tools on global languages, cultures, and also value systems and context. So now we get to some of the global impacts of AI, particularly for starting off with algorithmic bias. And we see that this is an ethical implication of AI systems. This happens when there's a presence of unfair or discriminatory outcomes in automated decision-making systems that also are leveraging these AI-enabled algorithms. We know that, there's a saying, basically the input defines what the output is, and biased data sets can also lead to these biased algorithms. In many cases, when it comes to representation in these frontier models, particularly those from companies like OpenAI or Anthropic, because a lot of their data is scraped, sometimes, without recompense for the data sources or people who have created this data, from the internet. And the internet is about 60% in English, depending on where you, I would say on the latest stats. And so English data, and also a lot of this English data is from North America versus Europe. It tends to skew models to represent the US context, Canadian context, UK context much better than it does for regions, or countries like Bangladesh, Argentina, and South Africa, for example. So we also see AI hallucinations. There's also been a little bit of, let's say, controversy around using this word, but more broadly, it refers to instances where AI systems, particularly generative models like LLMs, for example, or image generators, produce information that is incorrect, nonsensical, or fabricated, but also presented more broadly as plausible or accurate. And again, this is an issue around representation, where these hallucinations occur because AI models tend to generate responses based on patterns that are learned from AI training data, rather than verifying the factual correctness of the output. More broadly, these hallucinations, they raise concerns about the reliability and also the trustworthiness of AI-generated content, especially in applications like legal, medical, or news-related contexts where accuracy is critical. And in some cases, these hallucinations tend to result in a phenomenon that can be considered as model overcorrection. And basically, in an attempt to I would say, compensate or overcompensate for a lack of representation in models, these models will, produce inaccurate information. And the image in this case represents something from Gemini that happened a couple years ago, where they were essentially producing images of Vikings and founding fathers and popes and that were of people of color, which is, again, not historically accurate. And so more broadly, as we consider, the specific impacts of AI on global majority countries, we see that there's been a lot of interest from big companies to, increase AI development. There's been a lot of announcements actually over the past week or so from companies like, OpenAI. Also, Mistral has a new partnership with Morocco as well. And so the purported benefits more broadly of AI have really promised to help global majority countries fast track development and reach the sustainable development goals. However, we know that these technologies come with many risks, and some of which have actually already been realized across these countries. Additionally, concerns regarding the negative impacts of AI have led to a wide array of research investigating its impacts in healthcare, employment, and policing. However, a lot of this work on AI safety and AI fairness is also concentrated in Western contexts. And so this continues to exclude perspectives on how AI may affect countries in the global majority. As we go to labor impacts, we see that this is where basically a lot of the disproportionate impacts of AI have been situated, from when it comes to AI model development. And as AI companies' needs for data increase, the global majority has become a destination for outsourced data labeling labor, building upon, lots of histories of outsourcing as it comes to, like tech and also even things like garment making and factories as well. So for example, we have companies like Samasaurs and Scale AI relying on workers from this region. And there's been a lot of recent coverage on this, a lot of it stemming from the Time investigation that happened a couple years ago, highlighting the harms that data workers, particularly, those and content moderators in East Africa and South Asia and Latin America have faced and when repeatedly exposed to graphic content. And as countries within a global south, global majority, aim to build their respective capacity for AI development, there are many concerns that this exploitation could continue or even worsen. And climate impacts are something that, everyone has to be aware of, just because AI is, again, exacerbating these impacts, but also global majority countries tend to bear the brunt, of the, issues around climate change, particularly these small island nations within Oceania and the Caribbean. We know that AI development and usage consumes a vast amount of natural resources like energy and water. And this consumption occurs in cooling data centers, training models, and also prompting AI systems. These systems generate a lot of heat, leading to enormous quantities of water that are being used to cool data center equipment. And in 2022, Google's data centers used about 5 billion gallons of fresh water for cooling their GPUs. Training a large AI model or language model, like GPT, for example, can consume millions of liters of fresh water, and one single AI prompt can use about 16 ounces of water. But fortunately, this usage has decreased over the years as these models have become a little bit more efficient. And this graphic is from researchers at UC Riverside and UT Arlington, which are in the United States. And it estimates that by 2027, the global AI demand may require 4.2 to 6.6 billion cubic meters of water. And this is actually equivalent, excuse me, more, 4 to 6 times more than the total annual water consumption of Denmark. And so now going into refugee services, which is, again, something that disproportionately impacts the global majority countries, we see that agencies like the UN Refugee Agency are increasingly leveraging AI to aid in this biometric collection of refugees through fingerprint scanning and also through iris scanning for registration. We also see other organizations like the International Organization for Migration, IOM, have established these biometric checkpoints, and they capture fingerprints and scans, facial scans, at borders in at least 16 African countries. Even though a lot of these countries, particularly in Africa, do have data protection in place, AI is exacerbating this data extraction and theft in many cases. And also, new regulations need to be put into place, even for international organizations like UNHCR and IOM. So surveillance, something again that is a very serious issue, it really becomes prominent when we consider the African context, and noting that countries within the region are disproportionately acquiring and also implementing AI-enabled surveillance, spending about $1 billion a year on the contracts with companies in the US, the UK, China, EU, and Israel. In these countries, these technologies have been used to unjustly hold citizens in detention, for making critical posts of governments, and also to track the activities of journalists as well. So now, as we get into predictive policing, something that's been a little bit more used within the United States context, we see that these AI algorithms that are embedded in tools like ShotSpotter, CrimeScan, and PredPol are really used to predict crime hotspots and potential offenders. However, a lot of these algorithms are actually inaccurate, despite police departments in the United States spending millions of dollars on these technologies. And these tools often lead to over-policing in marginalized communities due to the inaccurate predictions and also the flawed data that is used to train these models. And now we also see some other impacts, particularly when it comes to autonomous weapons and warfare, where these AI-driven systems that are capable of selecting and engaging targets without human intervention are actively being used against vulnerable communities. We see that these ethical concerns from these technologies really include who is accountable for these systems, and also when these errors lead to wrongful deaths and injuries, basically what is the redress for addressing this respective harm, and also what potential conflicts and how can they escalate as the capabilities of these systems expand. And finally, we're going to go into disinformation, something that affects everyone worldwide and has also been exacerbated by the wide growth of generative AI technologies. And going again back to the African context, we see that consumers within these countries are particularly or disproportionately impacted by disinformation with regular exposure in countries like Kenya, Nigeria, and South Africa. And I've done some research on this, particularly in election-related context. And we see that this has only begun to rise, not just in Africa or the global majority, but also within the US as well. And so I'll go into a little bit into global AI governance. really, which is, the sweet spot of my research. And the Carnegie Council for Ethics and International Affairs defines AI governance as a set of rules, regulations, ethical and technical frameworks, and also similar mechanisms that guide the development and deployment of AI technologies. Data governance is an essential part of AI governance as it provides protections over how personal information is collected, stored, and transferred, while enabling data subjects control over the information and also the right to be informed regarding personal data breaches. Given the fundamental role of data in training machine learning models, evaluating AI systems, and also refining these models themselves, enacting effective data governance can also enable more comprehensive AI governance measures. And global AI governance in particular refers to the development of frameworks, policies, regulations, and collaborative efforts across nations and international organizations to oversee the ethical, legal, and responsible development, deployment, and use of AI technologies. Given the far-reaching impacts of AI on economies, societies, and global security, global AI governance aims to create this coordinated cross-border approach to managing AI-related challenges and opportunities in ways that benefits all of humanity. And this is a core part of the work that I do at the United Nations. And for the sake of this presentation, I'm speaking in my personal capacity, but I've been fortunate to work on a lot of efforts, particularly the International Panel for AI, a scientific panel on AI, and then also the Global AI Dialogues, which are some initiatives that we'll be launching within the next month or so. And this really aims to provide first scientific consensus on AI, but also really engage all member states of the UN to collaboratively work on addressing some of these pressing challenges that AI poses to society at large. So when we go into global AI partnerships, we see that these have really been formed to help distribute the benefits of AI and also democratize the development, research, and governance of these technologies. We see a lot of recent efforts, particularly from these state agencies within the UK, Canada, EU itself, also Japan is starting to rise a little bit, and other countries like Germany and Sweden. And so this includes the AI for Development partnership that is between the UK, Canada, and the Gates Foundation. And this is actually launched at the AI Safety Summit in 2023. We also see that the Partnership for Global Inclusivity on AI was also launched at the 79th session of the UNGA, the United Nations General Assembly. And this is led by the US and also included top companies like Amazon, Anthropic, Google, IBM, and others. And while it's a bit unclear about the status of this initiative, there's been many more that have launched aside from that as well. And so global AI convenings are also becoming increasingly prominent, and we've seen that they have begun to serve as a forum for these critical conversations on the ethical development, use, and governance of AI. And so the AI Safety Summit, I was fortunate to attend this in 2023 in the UK, was arguably the most prominent forum on global AI governance to date. And it included government representatives from 28 countries and brought together international governments, leading AI companies, civil society groups, and experts in research to consider the risks of AI, especially at the frontier of development, and also to discuss how to mitigate some of the risk through this internationally coordinated action. And since then, there's been a number of partner summits that have taken place. We've seen the AI Seoul Summit, the AI Action Summit, and also the upcoming India AI Impact Summit that will take place next month. And also, this is the Global AI Summit on Africa was not related to this respective series, but was hosted by the World Economic Forum and the Rwandan government. And so I was also very fortunate to attend that last year in April. And so we've seen that global AI expert bodies, particularly those from organizations like the UN, where I'm at, and also the OECD, have begun to increase in prominence. And the most prominent one so far was a UN high-level body on AI. And this was launched in 2023 and comprised of 39 global members from government, private sector, and civil society. And we've also seen that the H Lab on AI has influenced new initiatives that I mentioned, particularly, like the International Scientific Panel on AI, which again will be announced pretty soon. And so more broadly, we see that current challenges to global AI governance, including creating globally applicable laws and regulations, alongside these diverging national interests and regulatory approaches from places like the US, the EU, China, and even the AU, for example, alongside with fragmented multilateral cooperation and the role of international bodies like the UN in standardizing AI ethics and governance, creates these conflicting challenges. We also see that current approaches to global AI governance are limited in regional scope and also continue to be dominated by countries that are at the frontier of AI development. This continues to leave out valuable perspectives from countries in the global majority to understand their needs for AI governance and also how they should be responsibly approached for development. To end the presentation, I just want to say that more broadly, that global majority countries continue to grapple with the potential benefits of AI. However, there's a strong need for cautious approaches to building, implementing, and governing these technologies. And AI more broadly should not be seen as a panacea or a band-aid for solving these development issues. There should be equitable investment by countries towards building capacity for traditional social services, while also making efforts towards building sustainable AI ecosystems. To work towards these goals, global majority countries must continue participating in international collaboration and partnerships, and also leverage existing expertise within their respective countries. There's many opportunities for global majority countries, not even to catch up in the AI race, but to really define AI on their own terms. And this is something I really look forward, to happening in the future. I don't know if there's times for questions, but happy to answer some if there are. And thank you again for the invitation to speak.
Thank you so much, Dr. Okolo. We will appreciate if you can take some questions. Let me check on the Q&A section. Okay.
Oh, I see. Okay, I'm gonna go to the questions. So let's see. Okay, I went to the Q&A. There doesn't seem to be like specific questions there. There's for me. But if anyone has anything in the chat, I'll look in that briefly.
Okay, anyone who have question about the keynote speak or to Dr. Okada, please, this is an opportunity you can't miss.
I have a question.
Where's your questions? Yeah,
Okay.
Okay.
Yes. So when you during your talk, so you mentioned that Egypt is, I think, one of the first countries to have their own model. So I'm really interested in how many of these big players that have models, they're coming into Africa. I think in Nigeria particularly, like Gemini just came in and gave out like Gemini Pro for all undergrads if you have your school email. And I'm looking at it from two perspectives. I think you can say, okay, yes, it's going to help, because I think you kind of said that the trick is to collaborate. That way it's going to help us grow faster. But then it could also be like a tactic just to get data from us. Because like most of these guys, everyone's using, like, everyone's trying to get data. So like the two sides of this question: how ethical is it that everyone is using our data now? Like, what is data privacy? Is data privacy still relevant now? Because Gemini is in my Gmail. Everything I say to ChatGPT is being stored. Instagram takes everything. So
Yeah, I would say, nowadays is actually, much more data privacy is much more important more than ever, just because, again, we've seen companies do things like shifting their terms of service to extract data or like, scrape your profiles. LinkedIn has done this, Instagram continues to do this, and other, the social media platforms. And so I think it's really important that, while countries continue to pass these regulations, fortunately, in regions like Africa, 44 out of 54 or 55 AU member states have passed these regulations, that consumers actually be aware of their data rights. I think, there are certain states in the US where this enforcement is a little bit uneven, but we see standouts like California, and they actually just released this platform where consumers can opt out of their data and send these requests directly to companies. Often in the US, we receive like settlements for data privacy violations. I know that the Nigerian government, for example, has like fined Meta like 200 billion or something like that, or 200 million, excuse me. And so, but it's honestly, unclear if they will ever pay that amount, because while Nigeria threatened to like basically ban WhatsApp, it's honestly something that's going to have a detrimental impact on the livelihood, of the average Nigerian. And so um, the countries have to like, figure out a way to increase enforcement capacity and also like, leverage their data themselves to prevent this extraction as well. So I think again, a lot of these data protection laws also have to be updated to account for these nuances of like that AI, particularly generative and also even agentic AI bring. And so there's a lot of, effort that has to be done across the world.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so
We do have
there
questions
are lots of
on the
questions in chat now.
Q&A page. Yeah. Okay, someone is asking. Okay, it's Henry. I hear experts say that AI has the potential to help solve climate change. My question is, how possible is that when most data centers consume a lot of power and water?
Yeah, so I mean, I would say that AI can complement existing efforts, particularly around like optimization, of data centers, of even, models themselves. There's really interesting research that has shown that, making very minor tweaks to AI systems. This work comes out of the University of Michigan. It shows that basically like making these minor tweaks to training can actually reduce a lot of the power consumption of these models as well. And, fortunately, we have seen that, companies are aware that, building AI data centers is not sustainable, and it comes with a very large upfront investment. And so the models themselves are becoming a bit more efficient, but a lot of times, when these models can become more efficient, it leads to more usage overall. And, again, more resource, power, energy, mineral consumption as well. And so I think this is something that companies have to be aware of because, money is not limited, it's not unlimited, excuse me. And also, in many cases, particularly in the US, a lot of these data centers are being placed in deserts, or even in communities that have already experienced a lot of issues with traditional industries like factories and mining and just and other, like chemical production as well. So this is a very tough question, but I think like, the answer is pretty clear, but I think regulation can also help with ensuring this responsible development of AI.
Okay, good. So, okay, we have another question. What role can students play in AI governance?
Yeah, so I think there's a lot of different avenues, and because I like to say that for the most part, you're as a citizen of any country, you're always affected on a daily basis by political decisions. And so you have this, basic understanding innately of how governance works on a different level. And while, in some countries there may not be very clear avenues for direct engagement, in the US, you can write to your like, your local politicians, you can even call their offices. In many countries, other countries, particularly again in Africa, South Asia, Latin America, you can't always do that. So I think, really producing research outputs, sharing your voices and your ideas on the internet, And nowadays, it can be like a way to have this global forum and views to share to share your insights, and also even advocate for change as well. And I think, very basic mechanisms like protesting, again, sending letters to government offices and publishing them online can be a good way to get the attention and even hopefully enact change as well. Yeah, and so I saw this was a while ago, IOM. IOM is the International Organization for Migration. It's a sister UN agency focused on migration issues and refugee issues.
Okay. Did AI companies really
Mhm.
care about our privacy, or is it just a talk?
Yeah, I mean, so for the most part, I can just frankly say no. But again, in many countries, because there are data protection or privacy regulations in place, you do have power to limit how much data these companies can extract from you. You can change the settings on even Facebook, Meta, or other Meta technologies, to, let's say, like reduce the how your data is used for ad targeting. You can, if you're not using social media platforms, you can delete your data and request, like that information be deleted from their servers, even though sometimes they have to keep a specific amount of data for like a certain period of time. But even like you can ask your network provider to limit the amount of data that they have on you as well. I just actually did that recently for my internet provider at home. So there's many different ways you can exercise this rights. I think it's just, again, like the awareness is not always very clear. But I would say like you can take it upon yourself to help with this issue too.
Okay. I have a couple of more questions I would love for you to answer,
Sure.
but I don't also want to use more of your time, so
No
more
worries.
time comes. Okay, thank you so much. Okay, so yeah. Some of the attendees asked, okay, he started by saying, "Hello, doctor. Thank you for the amazing work you're doing in the AI space. I'm looking to transition into the AI space. What are some helpful tips for newbie looking to transition into AI ethics, safety, and governance?"
Yeah, so I'd say the biggest part, or asset to working in this field is really having solid research and analysis skills. Just because a lot of the outputs that you'll be working on will either be, let's say, like blog posts, like commentaries or op-eds that you publish in news outlets, or even full-on reports. And so it's really important that you have these solid research and writing skills. So this is something I would, definitely recommend you working on. There are a lot of different programs that run internationally. I'm actually just started serving as the board chair for AI Safety Nigeria. And so we'll be hosting a workshop soon on this, and also hopefully in the future, a mentorship program to help, more Nigerians, also more Africans get into the AI safety space. There's also AI Safety South Africa that has done training courses. Even other organizations like the Global Center on AI Governance have courses as well. And so I would say take these courses, and also work on doing independent research. If you can collaborate with others, let's say if you're still a student at your school, that's great. If you can work with, other organizations, like I know, I'm not sure if NSK.AI does this kind of work already, but I mean, there's always opportunities to start your own thing as well. So, yeah, just going back to the main part, research, writing, and then like public communication more broadly.
Okay, another question.
Mhm.
Oh, this is a question I also love to ask. Please share a short insight into your path to your current career.
Sure. Yeah, so for me, I would say it's a little bit different from the norm when it comes to AI governance and safety because a lot of people come into it from legal backgrounds or even policy or public administration backgrounds. But all my degrees are in computer science. So I'm a trained computer scientist all the way up to my PhD. And I did a lot of work on human-centered AI. My dissertation work is focused on the Indian context. And so I did work I'm trying to understand how healthcare workers in rural India can understand and perceive AI, and then also how AI explainability could help augment their work. And so I got into the AI governance scene because I saw that in 2022, the African Union was working on a continental AI strategy. And so I just reached out to someone there, and they're very welcoming and bringing me onto the project. And when I'd done that work for about maybe like 3 years or so. And then this was also around the same time I was starting to look for jobs. And I found an interesting role at the Brook Institution, which is a think tank, and it's basically one of the most prominent think tanks in the world. And they were looking for someone that had like technical background, but also just like that who did work on the international aspects of AI. So I was very fortunate that the role opened at the time. And from there, it provided me with a lot of visibility, an avenue to publish for different audiences. And that led to the work that I'm doing now at the United Nations.
Okay, thank you so much. I think I can add one more question. Okay, so Henry says generative AI makes it easier to spread misinformation and disinformation. What ways do you think policies and countries can help regulating this?
Yeah. So yeah, I think fortunately a lot of there exists regulation when it comes to elections, and also even generally like let's say like libel and also spreading false information that would apply in the case of generative AI and even also outside of generative AI. So countries have to like put this into place, and ensure that they are holding both like the platforms accountable, but also the people that are spreading this information accountable as well. So that I think that again, using this existing regulation is important. And then also, again, because there's so many loopholes and gaps, countries and individual governments have to work individually towards creating this specific regulation for AI-generated disinformation. And so I answered, there's a very interesting question I just want to talk about very quickly. But for the telling ChatGPT a lot of your secrets, I would recommend not putting personal information into the platforms. And even though, ChatGPT provides you with an opportunity to delete your information, they're actually legally required to keep, certain information. And so I would say make sure that you turn off the settings where it can use your data to refine it to some, and then also just make the information you provide to them very general and not super specific about your life. So that's what I would recommend.
Thank you, Doctor. This was very informative, eye-opening, and we got a lot of new knowledge for me, and I'm hopeful also our participant. Okay, we need reaction from you guys. We are very grateful for you joining us today. I know you have a very busy schedule. Thank you very much, Doctor.
Yeah, no worries. And thank you for the invitation. And thank you for the questions. Alrighty, take care.
Okay. Okay. Before moving to our next session, we're going to have a quick break. How is the workshop going so far? I need to see reactions to know. So everyone, hands on the reaction. How has it been? Good. Okay. It was good. Okay. Raf, can we have the chat opened so that we can hear from our participant how they're feeling about the workshop so far?
I think it's best if you just leave it this way. No.
Okay. Okay. At least can we hear from one or two participants? I can see people raising their hands.
Yeah, I think you can do that from your end.
Oh, okay. 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 I can see Emmanuel. You can speak now. Emmanuel. Introduce us yourself and tell us what was your expectation and how the workshop is going so far for you. Emmanuel. Okay. Okay. Muhammad. Muhammad. You can unmute yourself and speak.
From Nigeria. My name is Muhammad bin Muhammad.
Now, Muhammad, you can't really hear you. Muhammad, you can't hear you.
Hello, can you hear me? Hello, can
It's
you hear
not
me?
very clear. It's not very clear.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes,
Say my
I
name.
guess we can manage.
My name is Muhammad bin Muhammad, the federal university student at Federal University of Technology, Nigeria. So far from this webinar, what some insight I've gotten from this webinar is like how to apply AI agents and cybersecurity field. So like it's a mind blowing because this is my first time of like actually hearing about AI agent in cybersecurity. Because what I thought about was like just building normal chatbots, maybe chatbot that can just help customer relation managers and the rest. So, but today I was able to know that we can even apply AI agents in cybersecurity and other stuff. Then from the next speaker, I also learned about AI governance, which like she talk about the top 10 countries that are able to like use AI. So I think that's all, and I think this session is very insightful because I get a lot. Thank you.
That's fantastic, Mohammed. Thank you so much for your response. So I know OAU, I don't know if you guys can hear me. I know OAU is in attendance. I don't know if we have any questions from above from Awolo University. If anyone wants to ask a question, because we can see you guys. Don't be shy. I can see people turning heads. Yes, hi Alamide. Is there any question from anyone? Okay, if you have a question, you can raise up. Okay, I can see someone raised up their hand. Okay, so allow me just let after Mapel Lujo, then Abdul Karim rather, then you go next. Okay, Abdul Karim, you can ask your question.
Okay, good evening. Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Okay, my name is Abdul Karim. I am a final year student from the University of Abuja, Nigeria. I'm studying computer science. First of all, I'd like to appreciate the host and the speakers for their insights during their sessions. I have a question. So I'm a developer. I write code. Bulk of today's industry now is because I'm actually active on Twitter, and we have a lot of models right now that are geared towards fast tracking development like Claude, Gemini, and whatnot. So my question is more of, do you think, because we hear this all the time, like AI is here to stay, AI is here to stay, but currently, as of right now, majority of the code bases that are being worked on right now are being generated by AI. So let's say like 75%. There's actually like the statistics done for it already. So, and as time goes on, let's say 5, 10 years time now, AI is going to be the one actually building out most of the softwares that we have nowadays. So that's just a little bit of context. My question now is, do you think that is how it is going to be like in the coming years to come? Because at the end of the line, yeah, human intervention is still required at the end of the day, because I was discussing with another developer friend of mine, and he told me that he got contracted to kind of like fix the mess that AI made in a particular code base, because it's easy to spot codes that are really generated by AI at the end of the day. And in as much as you still need human intervention to kind of like, okay, make sure that the code is, adhering to probably the development guidelines and stuff like that. At the end of the day, most companies are still laying off developers and onboarding AI agents to kind of like replace those developers. And if you look at it, it's kind of like looking at a situation whereby, okay, people will now have to start hiring people to fix the mess that AI is making in their code bases and stuff like that. So I just want to hear from, experts in the field, in the industry. Do you think that is the era we are approaching, or as time goes on, this, I don't know, I feel like agentic system is as far as AI intelligence can get to right now, because yeah, so basically, let me not talk so much. That's it. Thank you.
Lovely. Firstly, I'm just going to give you my 2 cents based on my experience and my own research. Um, I I'm really excited for the future, and I hope I answer your question because I know you said a lot, but I think I don't think you should worry. I think one thing you should understand is no matter how autonomous systems will be, the experts will still stand out. I think in this era more than ever, experts are even more sought after because I think, like you already alluded to, because things are going to be so autonomous, most people aren't going to know the fundamentals. And like I keep saying this, I think Jan LeCun keeps saying these things. When you're looking at the future, always look at things that have high shelf life. Um, is this going to be relevant in the next 10, 5, 15, 20 years? I always say this. Always look at where the world is going to. How can I put myself in a place where I will constantly be relevant? And across all fields, being an expert in your domain is, I think, is the number one key thing because as an expert in your domain, the field is always evolving. Your expertise will even be more sought after now because of this AI boom. There's going to be less experts. This is just my own 2 cents. We have one of our panel speakers is already on the call. Waiting for the next speaker to come before we start the panel session. So I just want to find out from Oye what's your question or your contribution before we go into the panel session.
Okay, my question is this: how much of an AI project is actually model building versus data cleaning? Like model building versus data cleaning, how much of an AI project is this? Thank you.
Sorry, I need more context. So how much basically you want to know what ratio model building slash data cleaning? Like what's the ratio? Is that your question? If I can get correctly. Alamdi, can you hear me? Let me just confirm. Okay, so I guess so if that's again, it really depends. I think it really depends. There are certain scenarios where data cleaning will take the bulk of your time, and then, for instance, it depends on the task you're doing. Are you building a model from scratch? Are you fine tuning? So it really depends. It really depends. But I can say that one of the bottlenecks I think every developer can say data cleaning is a big problem. And having quality data, I think, is the future. You know, uh, Particularly in the fact that we're going towards robotics, and I think Avinash is going to speak on that a lot more. We realized in the LLM era, we went from data from everywhere and anywhere to just quality data. So if I can get quality data over, data from everywhere, I probably will have better results. So yeah, that I think I hope I answered your question. By the way, I just did my best. Avinash, I don't know if you can hear us. I don't know if you can hear us. I know he's been on the call for a while.
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Avinash, hi Avinash. Thank you for thank you. You've been here for since the beginning of the call. Thank you very much. We really, really appreciate. Yeah, just to give a bit of context, you guys, Avinash was one of the speakers at our RAG boot camp, and he willingly accepted to be one of the panelists for the panel session. And I'm very, very grateful for you to be on the call. I guess we're gonna have to get started. I'm sure more panelists are coming. So Sumaya, so Avinash, probably all the questions are going to be coming at you.
That's
Because
fine. Yeah, I'm excited.
there are lots of people asking about robotics. I can't even explain. Like, I think it's something we don't talk about, particularly in Africa. The hunger for robotics I find it fascinating, to be honest. Lots of people. So yeah, so you're going to see lots of questions. So please put your questions in the chat, you guys. Or Sumaya, please go ahead. There are questions that we wanted to ask you. Sumaya, if you're ready.
Yeah, I
know.
am
Okay.
fine. Okay, so we had a lot of discussion today so far. So as we have seen that agentic systems are very powerful, but power without responsibility is going to create a lot of risks as well. So that's why our final session today, which is the panel discussion, is bringing together experts from research, academia, industry to explore how we can build AI autonomous systems responsibly. So our other speakers, okay, let me just introduce everyone, and we will start with Avinash. Okay, so our panelists are first Dr. Asrat Mulatu, who is associate professor at the University of Addis Ababa Science and Technology University, and also the president of Internet Society Ethiopian chapter. He will be joining us after a couple of minutes. He have some issue with his network. And our second panelist is Avinash Saraburu, which we have experienced some of his knowledge on our last bootcamp. He is a staff deep learning engineer at Neptune Medical. We're very happy to have you here, Avinash. And he has this, not unique, but for us, which is the combination of AI and robotics. So we're going to learn a lot from him as well. Our other panelist is Benjamin Strolos, who is a staff ML engineer at Swoop. He hopefully will join us as soon as he's capable of. Okay, so I'm happy to moderate this panel discussion. Avinash, thank you for having you here. I'm going to start from some of the questions.
Yeah, I'm happy to take them on.
Okay. So, let's start from the ethics. Where should AI systems never be fully autonomous, no matter how capable the technology becomes?
That's a pretty deep question. And from my limited exposure, primarily in the robotic space, I would say any place where, especially in healthcare robotics, we work with patients a lot. And it's really, really important to tell them that you're using a robot that has a camera, maybe in certain places. And it's important to get their buy-in, get them to first sign off that it is okay for you to use, imaging systems or sensors with their body or during their examination. And also to basically don't have the robot do anything where it cannot take the liability for the mistake it does. In other words, it's okay if the AI thinks what's in front of you is a car and not a truck, although it's really a truck. It's okay for the AI to make that mistake as long as it is not using that judgment to take its actions. As long as a human is taking the actions and as long as it's just telling human, hey, this is car, this is not a truck or something like that, but the human can always correct, it's totally fine. It's, I think, still ethical to use AI and let it improve while you're using it. But any application where it has to take autonomous decisions that could have an impact, it is unethical to use it um, when it's not ready to take accountability for those actions, if that makes sense. It's a very broad footing, but
Mhm.
yeah, I'm happy to get into specifics. Yeah, if that makes sense.
Okay, let's take it into something that's also related to your expertise, to the medical space related to health.
Right, right.
I remember this video you showed us on our last bootcamp of a robot learning how to do things uh, with exercise, literally. So
Right.
starting from that end, from the sensitivity of the area of health, what are the concerns in terms of now talking about autonomous AI systems that are fully operating, fully autonomous, fully collaborating with one another and handling healthcare issues?
Yeah, it's a very interesting and pertinent question for the time. And I don't know how many of you are following it, but the US FDA and there's a Advanced Research Projects Agency. It's essentially a agency in the US that funds bleeding edge research. It's one of the agencies that originally funded the automation of driving and things like that. So they are now spending a lot of money and investing a lot in autonomous navigation in healthcare. So they want to bring some of these automation technologies, and that's what I think you also alluded to. So they did have a project with Johns Hopkins where they showed that there's a surgical robot that's doing surgery by itself with no human intervention. But you'll also notice that it was doing that maybe on a what's called a phantom model. It's essentially a fake human body, so it's not a real human body. It's more of a show of promise of the technology, not necessarily that this technology will actually be deployed in a hospital system. That's going to take much longer, especially in regulated industries like medicine. Finding a solution to a problem is one thing, making that solution effective, safe, and liability proof is it takes much longer than actually just finding the solution. And that's one of and it's there for a good reason. The industry is regulated for a good reason so that people don't get ahead of themselves and we don't get too overconfident or too excited that something is ready and you deploy it and then you find out something went wrong and it's hard to take back, especially in life. You can't reset and bring somebody back. So
Yeah.
yeah, so
Right.
yeah, so with that context, I think the way this will work is it is still a very early and actively being worked on category of how to regulate automation vis-a-vis in the healthcare sector. Mostly what it might come down to is from going from first principles basis, figuring out who is going to be liable if something goes wrong. Or so essentially figuring out how to make your AI model or whatever your autonomous technology is, figuring out how to make it interpretable, figuring out how to make it analyzable, being able to figure out what your failure modes are and how much due diligence or how much um, thought you have given to having backup strategies, which may be manual intervention, which may be not autonomous, but having a backup strategy that is provably safe. So one,
Mm-hmm.
figuring out the limits of your AI capability and figuring out what backup to do when it fails, detecting and having backup when it fails, and then making sure that this whole package that you build is liability proof or it's catastrophe proof, or it should not cause any issue, or if it causes an issue, you already have a way to preempt it or mitigate it. So a lot of work needs to happen there, and that needs to be proven, that needs to be evaluated. Again, this is not to say that um, it's not to say that you can, as a human, figure out every corner case. These systems are super complex, and they're getting trained with data. So interpretability is really hard. You can never 100% interpret what the model is doing. At least like not to my understanding or knowledge. And so therefore, definitely there will be a little bit of stochasticity involved. So it will be very similar to how a human experienced surgeon is training his fellow. So the fellow is competent, but the surgeon has to take his precautions when he is letting his fellow or his student who is not yet experienced working on a real case, all the precautions that a surgeon takes while training his trainee, it might boil down to something very similar. But at least because it's a software system, we will have more quantized techniques to do that. Hopefully, like that gives you some sense of how this will work.
Yeah, very much. I think Benjamin has joined us. Welcome,
Hi, sorry
Benjamin.
I'm late.
Oh,
Let me
that's
do it.
fine. Okay. Before moving to you, Benjamin, let me just add some more clarifying or giving an image of what we were discussing with Avanash. So, okay,
Mhm.
Avanash, I know we have talked about the risks and also what are some of the issues concerning autonomous AI system in health. Okay, just let's have this image of a successful autonomous system, not necessarily just in the health sector, but generally. So, what that should look like?
That's a hard question. I guess, safety comes to mind as the highest bar that it needs to clear, more than competence. Being safely competent definitely matters more in the healthcare sector. So that would be, you know, something to expect. The other thing also is that the skill has to be complementary. So there are a lot of parts in healthcare where a human cannot do it, not because they don't know how to do it, but parts of your anatomy are really hard to reach. Parts of your anatomy are really hard to stably control and manage while you're examining some other piece of the anatomy. So, especially in those things, there is definitely an opportunity to complement each other's strengths between a human and a machine. So, finding that synergy and proving that you can safely execute that synergy, I think, yeah, that's what a successful machine would look like to me.
Okay, so mostly we have explored what an autonomous system is in the health space.
Right.
Benjamin, I'm going to come to you. I want you to give me more generalized response on this question. It's more related to ethics. That was also the question I was discussing with Avinash, which is
Okay.
where should AI system never be fully autonomous, no matter how capable the technology becomes?
I mean, to ask a sort of devil's advocate question, like, is there a space where you think humans shouldn't be fully autonomous? And do we count as AI systems, right? Are we intelligent systems, right? Like, so I guess I would hesitate to say never, but I think today for sure, there's probably lots of space that AI should not, almost nowhere really. I mean, today AI is so error prone that there's really almost nowhere you can let it go unsupervised for very long, except for places that don't have a lot of consequences. So, there's this idea of engineering systems that are very easy to reverse. Um, you see this in coding a lot, right? With like GitHub. Um, you can very easily go back in time and erase everything that was done. So that's one thing to think about when you are designing AI systems is how easy is it to undo what they've done. I think what Avinash was talking about sounded more like medical procedures. Um, My guess is that in that area, mistakes are very costly and perhaps often not reversible. Um, I imagine there are plenty of scenarios that are similar. I think people hesitate to let AI into the legal system, into autonomous cars, right, where decisions can be life or death in, an instant. Legal system's a little more interesting because I think rarely it moves pretty slow, but the consequences affect a lot of people, right? So, but it's so textual. It's perfect kind of scenario or playground for AI's current capabilities because AI is currently really good with text, you know, with language in a sort of written form and a digitized form. It's less good with language when it's in audio or when it's spoken. It's less good with video. It's less good with kind of every other modality. But legal work is very highly textual. I think legal is picking up AI very fast. Um, and I think the consequences are much less obvious to me than the cases of like medicine and driving cars because the feedback loop is so slow, right? Um, who knows what could happen if you have an AI dictator, right? Like, I don't know because that's a little hard to think about. I'm kind of trying to think a little more broadly, but I don't. Yeah, I mean, for me, the question is, what's the impact of a mistake? That's the like primary question that has to be answered when you want to think about AI autonomy. And I think there are some areas where it's very hard to understand how to evaluate that question because it's not, it's not life and death. It's kind of spaghetti because you have to start looking into the future weeks and years and that's hard to do.
Yeah, of course. We have seen crazy updates, and with the AI sector rapidly growing, yeah, we don't actually know what to expect. Okay, so let's go more technical. So this is also to you, Benjamin. How do you decide when humans should be in loop versus on the loop, and where have those models failed in practice?
I actually have a question back for you. What do you mean by on the loop?
Okay. So now, talking about the autonomous system, one
Hmm.
of the solution will be having the autonomous system with
Hmm.
human in the loop.
Right. Yes, is a familiar pattern to me. Yeah.
Yeah. And the other aspect, which be on the loop, which is
Hmm.
not in, but also um, having an insight of the overall AI process, maybe
Does
following
an
it up.
engineer count as on the loop? I'm curious.
Yeah, with some aspect, yes.
Okay. So it's a much more hands-off. It's not
Hmm.
it's not
Just
necessarily
having
a
hands on
built-in.
in the loop, human, and
Uh-huh.
having an overseeing, managing
Right.
human.
Yeah, I'm following. Okay. Okay. So it's like a manager who's very hands-off versus a manager who's kind of actually there. Um, or something. Okay, so then the question was when would you how do you decide when to do each?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And where
So
have
yeah.
those
Mhm.
models failed in practice?
I think in industry, the pressure is always away from human in the loop because for economic reasons. Um, so right away, from an ethical point of view, you have to battle against that, right? Companies don't want to pay people to do things. Uh, Unfortunately, that's a reality of the world. And so I think, you have to, um, again, it comes down to how important is a mistake, how, and this I think companies do understand, right? Like, because there are cases when if a company makes a mistake, it costs them more than more than it's worth. Um, we produce some medical content for pharma companies in the US. And in the US, medical content has to be legally reviewed to be factual. So you can imagine a scenario where a company that gets contracted out to make content for Pfizer produces some content about one of their drugs that is not true. This is very easy to imagine AI doing, right? AI starts reading research, makes up something about a drug that may be related, right? That it may not be that far off, but it's not correct. Um, and Pfizer gets sued, right? That could be very expensive. So this is, and actually, um, pharma companies have entire teams dedicated to reviewing this content, called medical legal review or something. Um, so, this is definitely a kind of scenario where companies are going to want to have a human in the loop. You have to be certain before you actually deliver or sort of broadcast this content, that it's correct. In general, I think you can look at how companies are already structured to understand opportunities for human in the loop technology. I think anywhere where companies have departments or humans that are already doing, what would be the word, sort of regulatory type work, is a good opportunity to insert automation that has a human in the loop. So you're essentially sort of speeding up what humans are already doing. And you step the whole creativity issue of coming up with something that companies didn't know they needed to pay for. Uh, right. In terms of on the loop, I don't know. That is a good, I mean, to me, all AI today almost is on the loop. The only thing that I could think of that's completely not on the loop would be like AI making AI, which happened, but it's very like, I don't know, Star Trek-y. But it maybe not, right? Like AI writes a lot of code. And some of that code does go out into the world. I suspect that will accelerate considerably in the coming years. Um, and it's something I've never thought about, but there is no regulation about, how do companies buy software? What are companies responsible to understand which parts of a software system were written by AI and not reviewed by a human? They could be, especially if they're in an industry that is regulated, like finance or something, right? Because then
Yeah.
who's responsible for the mistake?
Mhm, mhm. Yeah, yeah, got that. Okay. Before moving on,
Mm.
Avinash, is there anything you want to add on this?
I mean, I mostly echo what Benjamin said. It was a very patient, deliberate, and a really good answer. I probably just want to like summarize that at the end of it, I guess. It seems like in the loop is when, I mean, I want to be in the loop if the mistake that AI makes will take me forever to figure out in terms of time, or it's a very expensive thing for me to fix in terms of money. And
Mm-hmm.
perhaps on the loop is where, even if it makes a mistake, I can quickly recover from that, either in time or in money. Like or minimize how much money I lose, right? So
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, at least that's my takeaway from what Benjamin said. So just wanted to add that.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. We have Dr. Asrat. Uh, okay, he just joined. We're happy to have you here, Doctor.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay. This next question is related to governance, so I'm going to point it to you, Dr. Asrat. When an autonomous system causes harm, who should be accountable? The developer, deployer, or operator? And how should systems reflect the responsibility?
Okay. Thank you, Sumaya. And I have to apologize because there is a blackout in my community. So there is no light and there is no internet. I went back to my office to join you. So I sincerely apologize, all of you. So your point is very interesting, and the question is very debatable currently and everywhere globally. Because yes, AI systems, all of them, they are built by human, and there are potential errors we are encountering in everyday life during our interaction. So the question, who should be accountable for this error, is in great debate across the globe. So, the point is, who is going to be accountable when a car accident happens on the streets? Is the driver? Is the car maker? Is the traffic police? The pedestrian? So the point of discussion should be as an ecosystem of developers, users, of all kind in the pipeline from the beginning up to the end. We need to have policies, directives to make each and everyone responsible. I think that is the way forward. We cannot put, because it is the developer who did this. No, we have to use it responsibly. That's why prompt engineering becomes, one of the new, professions nowadays. So everyone should be responsible. There is no scapegoat. That is the reflection. Thank you.
Thank you, Doctor. Very straightforward. Okay.
Yeah.
Before moving, Benjamin or Avinash, do you have any point on this from the industrial aspect of it?
I generally agree. I would qualify what Dr. Is it Bayen? How do you say it?
Dr. Asrat.
Astrat. Oh, okay. The last name's first. Got it. Dr. Astrat. Okay. By saying responsibility has to be shared, I don't know that it has to be shared equally, but when you create if you put a policy where the company that creates the car is responsible for it's too expensive. It's too much responsibility to put on one entity. And these policies ultimately affect development, right? They affect the willingness of entrepreneurs to build things and engineers to build things because they don't want to get sued, right? I think actually Avinash he sounds very knowledgeable about the medical system. Doctors can be sued for malpractice, and they carry malpractice insurance, and there's a sense of shared responsibility, right? Because everybody knows that doctors make mistakes, but sometimes those mistakes are considered the doctor's fault, right? And can be litigated. yeah, for me, I think it's a very difficult question to answer because if the scalability of the technology affects so many people, it's not as understandable as the doctor's case, right? It's
Yeah.
hard to imagine the who's responsible.
Yeah. Okay. We have touched some on this point with Avinash. The next question is related to risk. So, do AI systems need the equivalent of fire drill or roll-up back plan? What does responsible incident response look like in production? So, yeah, let me start with you, Avinash, because we already have touched this point, and then we're going to move to the others as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that's almost like table stakes in the medical industry. Like you can't even like bring your product out if you don't have a really robust and fast acting response mechanism. Not only should your system have a fault detection mechanism that's independent of the AI algorithm that you're deploying, but you also have to have some backup strategies. And it also depends on whether the AI is being used um, in action. Like if it's a robot that's actually doing some procedure, then it's a lot more stringent. Should it make any mistake or should it fall somewhere? On the other hand, if it's like a summarization system, then there's a different redressal speed and how you might do it. So yeah, I it has to be there. There's no second guessing there.
Yeah, okay. I think we're also running out of time. So let me come to you, Dr. Asrat. The next question is related to the African ecosystem. So in these sectors like healthcare, finance, and public service across Africa, how, yeah, yes, Stefani?
I think he just like, I think he just,
Oh,
I think he,
okay,
yeah.
okay. Then, okay, let's proceed. Okay. Then I'm going to push this question to you, Benjamin. So in sectors like healthcare, finance, public service across Africa, how do we prevent autonomous systems from amplifying existing inequalities or informal biases?
So I should qualify that I am not an expert in the specific African case. But I suspect that there is considerable amount of vulnerability for to be taken advantage of here, right? So that you end up in a scenario where the people profiting off these systems may not be in Africa, and the people getting paid less or the people getting employed less may actually be in Africa, right? So that I feel like probably has to be handled almost at like the government level. I mean also at the human, right? Like I think entrepreneurs have and everybody's sort of involved in making decisions about what's good for the community versus what's good for them. But humans are not always good at that. So, so yeah, I think you have to be very careful um, ab- about the nature of the agreement that comes into play. Otherwise, you're looking at a scenario where you're getting the automation, but you may mostly be suffering from it economically, which is not the situation you want to end up in, right?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I mean, I am not like a geopolitically well-educated person, unfortunately. So I hesitate to say like with any detail about any
Yes.
particular case. I don't, I, yeah, I, yeah.
Okay, so, let me add some context to it and pass it to you, Avinash. Okay, so let's think it from in terms of being represented in the data. So we know that AI operates on a huge amount of data. So and not being as African represented in those data, we can take an example of an AI model who is trained on skin disease, for example, and mostly was trained in light skin people. So when it comes to us, the Africans, and when we want to adapt those models, these are some of the issues we face being underrepresented in the data that is fed to the AI system. So in terms of that, let me ask you the question again with this context. In the sectors like healthcare, finance, public service across Africa, how do we prevent autonomous systems from amplifying existing inequalities or informal bias? To you, Avinash.
Yeah, I mean, that's a difficult question. The good thing about the difficulty there is it's felt way beyond Africa, in particular in Africa, but also there are parts of Southeast Asia, there are parts of East Asia. There's also the Central Asian regions. There's so many regions that are very culturally rich, diverse, ethnically unique, but unfortunately, there isn't enough data generated from those regions, or maybe it's generated but it's not captured in the AI models, right? So this it's a multi-layered problem. So yeah, we are all in it together, and there's definitely yeah some I don't quite know what the right solution there is. And one thing that your question prompted me to think a little bit in the back, not in the future, because the future one is a little bit harder for me. I was wondering how our communities thought about, let's say, when satellites were invented, when some of the Western countries started like making satellites, which were like cornerstones for communication. Um, Mostly, you'll see like two or three space agencies launching all the satellites, and they almost have you know highest market share, or if not the dominant market share when it comes to communication, right? So even now, when there is talk about getting the whole world onto the internet, the talk is coming from like Starlink that's in the US, or maybe it'll be Project Kuiper that's coming from Amazon, right? It's not like a satellite that's coming from Africa. It's not a satellite that's coming from Central Asia. So then I asked the question, how did we deal with that? How did countries that were not represented in the communication revolution, how did they deal with that? What were some things that where we still benefited, even though we were not pioneers in that domain? And what did we miss out there? And what like I'm trying to use a regret model here. I'm trying to understand what could we have done differently about that, and use that lens to then look forward and be like, given this context, what can I now think about AI? How much of it should I embrace? Where should I embrace it without um, uh, without skepticism? And where should I not embrace it with skepticism? Right? So there's no like one or zero here. So it's very contextually driven. So yeah, that's. I didn't answer your question. I'm just giving you like a framework to think about it, I
Yeah.
guess. So yeah.
Yeah, it's actually a robust question with a very different levels of issues within in. Yeah, I do understand that. Okay, so the AI, the NSK.AI team is now reminding me of our time. So we will try to be a bit quick on the next few questions. Okay, so the next question is related to strategy. Is there a real risk of a global race to autonomy where safety becomes a competitive advantage? How do we counter that? This is again to you, Avinash.
Could you repeat that question, please?
Is there a real risk of a global race to autonomy, where safety become a competitive advantage. How do we counter that?
Safety. So is the question implying that because of race to autonomy, safety will be thrown on the wayside? Or
Whoever gone there first is going to have the benefit.
oh, okay, I see. Um, I think the diversity piece that we talked about in the previous question,
Mm-hmm.
the fact that a model trained on a certain set of data that's useful for a certain demographic, the fact that it doesn't immediately translate to a different demographic gives you some insurance from like whoever gets there first trying to dominate everybody unilaterally. I doubt that might happen given how, it's not that straightforward to translate learning from, let's say, even from one language to another language, or even from like one situation to another situation, even though the problem is similar. So I feel like that may not happen is my 2 cents, but yeah, I mean, you never know. These things can throw surprises at you. So yeah, but yeah, that's my opinion.
Okay. Benjamin, will you add anything on this question?
Just to make sure again that I understand, you're saying that whoever wins the autonomy race will have a safety advantage at the end of it?
So the question is actually, is there a risk?
Is there a risk
Yeah, because
of that
the
happening?
global race to autonomy is leading to safety becomes a competitive advantage.
Yeah, I
So
just
if
don't.
we say there is a risk, how do we counter that?
Yeah, I just want to make sure I understand. When you say safety becomes a competitive advantage, you're saying what? It's not clear to
Okay,
me exactly what you're saying.
so the question is there a risk
Hmm.
of a global race to autonomy? So what we are witnessing now, everyone is trying to be the number one in terms of
Yes,
the
yeah,
autonomy.
clear.
Yeah.
Got that.
Okay. So, and because of that, what's
Hmm.
happening is safety become a competitive advantage. We can take this into the individual aspect of it, and also, for example, country-wise,
Hmm.
including data safety.
Hmm.
And now, because of these AI systems not being distributed
Hmm.
and handled with single point of management, can say that I think. Uh,
Hmm.
how does that affect us as individuals, country,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
what are our actions to counter that?
Okay. So yeah, well, I think one action you have, right, is sort of open source. And you see even among sort of some of the biggest players, uh, China uses this technique, Facebook uses this technique, right, where they take technology that may be proprietary and dominated and they just publish it for everyone. And so suddenly they kind of destroy the competitor's advantage because now everyone has access to this technology. Um, I think the way to guarantee that is one, that there is a healthy amount of competition, right? I think having companies with competing interests is one, but probably not enough. I think having countries with competing interests is definitely better. But even, would we leave our hands to the fate of China and the US. I don't know. I probably wouldn't. You know, I think in that sense, it becomes a situation where if you are a smaller part of the sort of democratic universe, everybody matters because it affects you, right? So you have to look around, you have to look at Europe, you have to look at other potential competitors, and you have to care about their ecosystems, which is hard to do, right? Because you're probably focused on your community, your country, but ultimately, if Europe's AI dies, right? If the situation would change and the competition would become consolidated, that is a bad scenario for everyone else.
Yeah, I do understand.
Is one thought that I have. That's kind of the open source technique that immediately comes to mind. If you want to combat it, I'm sure there are many others.
Okay, thank you, Benjamin. I think Dr. Asrat is back. I only have one last question, so I'm hopeful they will allow me to ask because we are running out of time. Dr. Asrat, if you are able to speak. Okay, so this last question is for you. As AI systems evolve from tools into agents, what new governance or institutional structures will we need that didn't exist today?
Oh, tough question. I think we are, this AI thing, which has become on the minds and hearts of everyone, is becoming, the solution for everything. As internet has been, the knowledge and information source for everybody back in time. So what I believe is, as human, we are not ready, to understand how we have to manage AI systems. So the first thing we have to do is, we have to identify the key, players in the AI ecosystem and come together. Since AI, we cannot live without it anymore. Okay, that's what I believe. So we have to know how to manage it. We have to devise mechanisms that will benefit everyone, as we do for other systems. So what you are saying is there is no system that be able us to manage it, say it government, large enterprises, experts, whatever. So everybody is trying to get advantage of it. Okay, and everyone, even developers, companies, as you say, they are, undermining safety and, bringing whatever products they have, before somebody else does. So what we need is, as we do for other systems, we have to, the development will continue, but in parallel, we have to sit down and bring some system that can govern, monitor, and bring, something good for humanity in the long term. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, thank you, Dr. Asrat. Thank you for all our incredible panelists. Thank you, Benjamin, Avinash. It was really wonderful having you here. This was such a thoughtful and grounded discussion. Yeah, I'm hopeful we are going to see you more and more in NSK.AI's activities for the future as well.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you. I'm sorry for being late.
Thank you.
If I need.
Yes, yeah, we have about 5 minutes, so yeah, I'll try and be quick. Once again, Dr. Ashra, thank you. Benjamin, thank you. Avinash, thank you. Just like Sumaya said, and this is me giving you a heads up, Benjamin, Avinash, Dr. Ashra, there's some projects we're working on, so I'm probably going to be reaching out to you guys personally. Like as I said, from the bootcamp, and I just wanted to mention this, the feedback has been fantastic. Till now, Benjamin, lots of people have been asking about agentic systems, particularly because of your talk, like what course do I take? What do I do? Like the demand has been high. Same thing happening as robotics, like it's fascinating, like I say, these discussions, there are lots of people that are in a state of confusion. Before you all joined, there was I think Sai had a talk on cybersecurity and AI agents. There was someone that reached out and said he'd never heard about it before. And this was his first time about hearing about agentic systems and cybersecurity. And for me, this is the very reason why NSK.AI exists, to be a beacon of light to people. I've seen this happen countless times where your first encounter is the beginning of your journey. And I'm just so happy that people are starting their journey with us at NSK.AI. So once again, thank you very much for accepting our invitation. And yeah, definitely I'm going to be reaching out again. Okay, so thank you. Thank you to everyone who has tuned in. Today is the first day of the 2-day workshop. Tomorrow is going to be another day. There's even one of the speakers for tomorrow even came in. I think he just trying to see his audience. But yeah, I really hope today was very informative to everyone who stayed till the end. Shout out to everyone from Obafemi Awolowo University that joined physically. Yeah, so I hope tomorrow is going to be worth your time, and catch you again same time tomorrow. Thank you and good night.
Okay.
Okay,
Bye,
bye everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
We'll expect you all tomorrow, same time.
Okay.
Show us some reaction as we are leaving.
Bye. Thank you.
Yeah. Bye.